Good evening. It's Wednesday, 5th of February, and here's what's making news around the world on World News Tonight. VP impeached. Philippine Vice President Sara Duterte, daughter of former President Rodrigo Duterte, has been officially impeached. School shooting. Sweden's worst mass shooting leaves at least 11 dead at an adult education center. Eagle revival. Bald eagle population quadruple surpasses 300,000 in a conservation front.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Prashansa Gunawardana.
We begin the bulletin today with news coming from the Philippines. Vice President of Philippines Sara Duterte, whose father is a former president, has been impeached by the House of Representatives after more than required number of legislators signed a petition to remove her from office.
The lower house of the Philippine Congress voted to impeach Vice President Sara Duterte, daughter of the country's former president. According to House Secretary General Reginald Velasco, 215 of the 306 lawmakers have signed a petition to impeach Duterte, more than enough to be considered for impeachment by the House. Details of the impeachment have not been released, but the vote follows the filing of 3 impeachment complaints last month. They accused Duterte of crimes ranging from the brazen misuse of millions of dollars in the public funds to plotting the assassination of President Ferdinand Marcos. The next step is a trial in the upper chamber of the Philippine Congress, the Senate.
US President Donald Trump proposed taking ownership of the Gaza Strip and redeveloping it, after saying earlier that Palestinians should move out of the region. Trump made the comments after meeting with the Israeli leader at the White House. Netanyahu responded saying the idea is worth paying attention to.
US President Donald Trump said the US would take over the war-ravaged Gaza Strip and develop it after Palestinians had resettled elsewhere. Speaking after a Tuesday meeting with Israel's Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, Trump did not provide specifics and did not directly respond to how and under what authority the US can take over and occupy Gaza long term. Netanyahu, whose military has fought for more than a year with Hamas militants in Gaza, would not be drawn into discussing the proposal in depth, but said Trump was, quote, showing willingness to puncture conventional thinking. Trump also announced earlier the proposal to permanently resettle Palestinians from Gaza to countries like Jordan, Egypt, and other neighbouring Arab states. That goes beyond suggestions he has made about Gazan resettlement that Arab leaders have already steadfastly rejected. Forced displacement of Gaza's population would likely be a violation of international law and be fiercely opposed by Western allies. Some human rights advocates liken the idea to ethnic cleansing. Senior Hamas official Sami Abu Zuri condemned Trump's calls for Gazans to leave as expulsion from their land and a recipe for generating chaos and tension in the region.
China announced retaliatory tariffs on the select American imports. An antitrust investigation into Google just minutes after sweeping levy on Chinese products imposed by US. President Donald Trump took effect.
The US-China trade war enters a new phase. With Donald Trump's latest round of 10% tariffs on all Chinese imports into the US coming into effect Tuesday, Beijing is wasting no time in retaliating. Among the measures due to take effect next week are 10% tariffs on US crude oil, cars, and farm equipment, and 15% on coal and liquefied natural gas. China is also launching an antitrust investigation into Google. The US tech giant's online platforms are already blocked by China's Great Firewall, but the new probe could affect the company's collaboration with Chinese phone makers via its Android mobile operating system. 2 more American companies, PVH, which owns the clothing brands Calvin Klein and Tommy Hilfiger, and Illumina, a biotech firm partnered with chipmaker Nvidia, have been placed on an unreliable entities list, threatening to restrict their access to the Chinese market. Meanwhile, new export controls have been imposed on tungsten. The super hard metal is critical in tech and weapons applications, and China controls 80% of the world's supply. Beijing has also followed through on its vow to file a complaint at the World Trade Organization against Trump's tariffs. Trump is seeking to pressure the Chinese government to crack down on shipments of fentanyl into the U.S. China's response, while varied, is being seen as an effort to leave room for negotiations to de-escalate a potentially damaging trade war between the world's top two economies.
The US Postal Service said it has stopped accepting parcels from the mainland China and Hong Kong until further notice. Letters will not be affected by the suspension, said the company, which declined to offer a reason for the decision.
The U.S. Postal Service is suspending the delivery of parcels coming from China and Hong Kong. That follows President Donald Trump's move to shut a trade loophole that allowed small-value packages to be shipped duty-free. The so-called de minimis provision allowed importers and U.S. shoppers to avoid duties on goods worth less than $800. By late Tuesday, the USPS had not said whether its move directly flows from that, but it says the delivery of letters will be unaffected. The change poses a big challenge for fast-growing online retailers like Temu and Shein. They've built big businesses shipping products from China at rock-bottom prices, often using the de minimis rule. Together, the two firms probably accounted for more than 30% of all parcels shipped to the U.S. each day under the loophole. That's according to a congressional committee report in 2023. Now, Trump has also imposed an extra 10% tax on Chinese goods.
We're going to do very well against China and against everybody else.
Anticipating such moves, Shein and Temu have both taken steps, including setting up warehouses in the U.S. and sourcing more goods from outside China. Even so, experts say U.S. shoppers are likely to see prices rise for products bought from such firms. And the bad news for Shein and Temu might not end there. Reports by news website Semaphore claim the Department of Homeland Security could add the pair to its list of firms suspected of using forced labor. The report said no final decision had been made and there was no comment from either firm. Responding to Trump's tariffs, Beijing has put several U.S. companies, including Alphabet's Google, on notice that they could face sanctions from China.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. Sweden's worst mass shooting left at least 11 people dead, including the gunman at an adult education center west of Stockholm, as officials warned the death toll could rise. The gunman's motive, as well as the number of wounded, had not been determined.
Police were investigating the motive for a mass shooting at an adult education center in central Sweden on Tuesday, the country's deadliest attack ever. The local police chief said that, quote, 10 or so people were killed in the shooting, telling a news conference that he couldn't be more exact about the death toll at that time because, quote, the extent of the incident is so large. He also said the gunman is believed to be among those killed. A student at the school for adults told local TV news that she and her friend tried to stem the bleeding of one of the victims. The search for victims went into the evening as Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson spoke to reporters. Police said they had opened an investigation into murder, arson, and an aggravated weapons offense. The school in Örebro, Sweden, where the shooting took place, is for adults who did not complete their formal education or failed to get the grades to continue to higher education.
Japan's northern island of Hokkaido has been hit by record-breaking snowfall this week, burying parts of the region under deep snowdrifts. In the city of Obihiro, an astonishing 47 inches of snow fell in just 12 hours, setting an all-time new record. The extreme weather was triggered by a powerful cold front which plunged temperatures to as low as 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
To Japan, where the country's northern island of Hokkaido saw record-breaking snowfall on Tuesday. The city of Obihiro recorded some 120 centimeters of snow within a 12-hour period, setting a new national record for the most snowfall in that time. The Japan Meteorological Agency attributed the extreme weather to two powerful low-pressure systems, channeling cold air into the region. Numerous flights have been canceled, while roads, train services, and 370 schools have been closed as a result. Residents and visitors have been advised to practice caution and carry shovels and warm clothing in their vehicles.
US Secretary of State Marco Rubio could not have been more complimentary about the deal he struck with the president of El Salvador. The Trump administration's top diplomat appeared delighted yet stunned by the fact that the Salvadoran president should have agreed to the most unprecedented migratory agreement anywhere in the world.
On Secretary of State Marco Rubio's whirlwind tour of Latin America, a potentially unprecedented offer from the president of El Salvador. Unless someone has committed a crime abroad, extensive constitutional and legal protections exist to prevent that in most cases. And for citizens of other countries apprehended here, regulations are still in place. Rubio today acknowledging it's unclear if such an action would be legal. That offer would put convicted criminals in President Bukele's notorious mega prison, known as the Terrorism Confinement Center. Built by Bukele to house alleged members of gangs that had once helped make El Salvador one of the most dangerous countries in the world. It has become a symbol of his crackdown on crime. That crackdown has swept up 80,000 people and enjoyed public support. That mega prison, the size of 7 football stadiums, with a capacity to hold 40,000 prisoners. No mattresses are offered. Prisoners spend all but 30 minutes per day in packed cells. The State Department under President Biden called prison conditions in the country harsh and life-threatening. But President Trump tonight doubling down on his willingness to consider the offer.
A petition to ban the artificial sweetener aspartame was launched by the international non-profit Foodwatch, the French Cancer League and the mobile app company Yuka. The coalition said that aspartame is present in more than 2,500 products in Europe, particularly sugar-free foods and drink.
Sugar-free soft drinks, fat-free yogurt, tooth-friendly chewing gum, products that are sold as healthier options. Many have one thing in common: aspartame, an artificial sweetener that's 200 times sweeter than natural sugar. Though the World Health Organization classifies the additive as possibly carcinogenic, it's very widely consumed. Aspartame, also listed as E951 on food labels, can be difficult to avoid because it's present in thousands of supermarket products. Consumer advocates in France are calling for an EU ban on the sweetener. Food additives used in the EU must pass rigorous testing. The European Food Safety Authority last re-evaluated aspartame in 2013 and concluded that it's safe for the general population. It set the acceptable intake at 40 milligrams per kilogram of body weight per day, much higher than the amount most people consume.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. Welcome back. Argentina's award-winning mare Polo Pureza will have her genus, or at least most of them, live on in 5 genetically edited horses designed to outrun the polo legend herself. Scientists at an Argentine biotech firm have produced the world's first genetically edited horses using a technique called CRISPR-Cas9. The horses were born last October and November.
These are the world's first genetically edited horses. They've been bred by scientists at the Argentinian biotech firm Chiron in the hopes of creating super-fast polo horses. Here's the company's co-founder and scientific director, Gabriel Viqueira. The scientists took genes from Argentina's award-winning mare, Polo Pureza, and used them as a genetic base for the 5 horses who were all born late last year. They edited the genes to increase speed, but all the while keeping the champion horses' other qualities. Viqueira said the horses all comply with Argentina's current regulations and do not count as genetic doping or genetically modified organisms. Viqueira says their technique enables scientists to adjust the genome of any horse, but the team are not stopping there. Among other projects, they're currently working on modifying pigs so their organs can be compatible for human transplants.
Bald eagles once teetered on the brink of the extinction, reaching an all-time low of 417 non-nesting pairs in 1963 in the US. Now the bald eagle population has climbed to over 300,000 individuals. This estimate indicates that the bald eagle population has quadrupled since the last set of data was collected in 2009.
The American bald eagle is making a comeback. The species had been headed toward extinction, but conservation efforts and rescues have been successful. The Turtleback Zoo in New Jersey, a state that has taken the bald eagle off the endangered list, has a success story in this resident named Freedom. Reports say a big threat to the bald eagle was the use of DDT, an insecticide that weakened the shells of eagle eggs. The substance was banned in 1972, and today these resilient birds are thriving in large numbers. One estimate puts the population over 300,000 nationwide. An environmental success story which is rare these days.
Well, that's a wrap from all of us at World News Tonight. Up next, Anuradhi Vikramasinghe is standing by for the nightly business report. I'm Prashansa Gunawardana. We are going to leave you with visuals from the exhibition in Tokyo that is bringing Hokusai's artworks to life. Thank you for having us. Have a good night.